There was a young famous painter. He decided to create a truly great portrait, a lively portrait full of the joy of God, a portrait of a man whose eyes radiated eternal peace. And so he set out to find someone whose face reflected that eternal light. The artist roamed from village to village, from jungle to jungle, in search of his subject, and at long last he came across a shepherd with shining eyes, with a face and features that held the promise of some celestial home. One look was enough to convince him that God was present in this young man. The artist painted a portrait of the young shepherd. Millions of copies of the portrait were made, and it sold far and wide. People felt great gratitude just being able to hang the picture on their walls. After a spell of some 20 years, when the artist had grown old, he decided to paint another portrait. His experience had shown him that life is not all goodness. The devil also exists in man. The idea of painting a picture of devil persisted. If he wanted to fulfill this project, then the two pictures would complement each other, would show the complete man. He had already done a painting of godliness. Now he wanted to portray the devil. He sought a man who was not a man but a devil. He went to gambling dens, to bars and to madhouses. This subject had to be full of hell's fire. His face had to show all that is evil, ugly, and sadistic. After a long search, the artist finally met a prisoner in a jail. The man had committed 7 murders and had been sentenced to be hanged in a few days. Hell was evident in the man's eyes. They spouted hate. His face was the ugliest one could possibly hope to find. The artist began to paint him. When he had completed the portrait, he brought out his earlier picture and set it by the side of the new paint for contrast. It was difficult to assess which was better from an artistic point of view. Both were marvelous. He stood staring at both, and then he heard a sob. He turned and saw the chained prisoner crying. The artist was shocked. He asked, "My friend, why are you crying? Do these pictures disturb you?" The prisoner said, "I have been trying to hide something from you all this time, but today I am lost. You obviously do not know that the first picture is also of me. Both portraits are of me. I am the same shepherd you met 20 years ago in the hills. I cry for my downfall in the last 20 years. I have fallen from heaven to hell, from God to devil." This is how the life of human beings is. At one point you are the good shepherd, and at the other end you also become the terrible devil. Every man swings between these two extremes. Man can attain to either of these extremes, but most people are inclined towards the infernal. Those fortunate few who aspire to the eternal, who let godliness grow in them, are rare, very rare. Nelson Mandela therefore says that I am not a saint unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying. A saint is a sinner who keeps trying. Very deep and beautiful words, my fellows, which only an evolved soul can understand, can relate with. Moon in Mriga is a perfect example of a sinner who keeps trying to improve, trying to progress, trying to grow within, trying to mature as a person. Once it happened, There was a young man, and he was such a beautiful person with a golden heart. But life was too harsh on him. He lost everything. He became homeless. He was in deep pain. He had fallen from his position. The whole world had condemned him, labeled him as a loser. While walking through the forest, he came across an old man. And the old man seemed to be someone special. His aura, his smile, there was something about this old man. The young man bowed before the old man, and the old man smiled and said, "I know your situation." The young man was taken aback. He realized that the old man is not just an old man. He must be a master, a divine master. The young man started crying, and the master raised him up and said, "There is nothing wrong in falling. In life, many times one falls, but what makes him special is when he rises every time he falls. So do not give up. I am with you. Why you fear?" The young man was touched. A great energy started flowing within his being. He said, "Master, I will go back and rise again." And it is said that the young man went on to become the most successful man of his town. Everything is possible only if you are not willing to give up. Always remember, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Moon in Mriga may and does push you to commit certain mistakes, certain misdoings to which the world calls sin. However, if Jupiter and Saturn is strong in your birth chart, then you will be able to correct your mistakes. So Moon in Mriga can either help you to become wise by rising again, by correcting your mistakes, or Moon in Mriga simply makes you stupid, because if you repeat the same mistake again and again, then you simply become a stupid person. Always remember, to commit mistakes is not wrong. Commit as many mistakes as possible, because that is the way you will be learning more. But don't commit the same mistake again and again, because that makes you stupid.